Yeah, that's true.
All right, officially start your bullshitting. We're on the clock.
All right. Start your engines.
This is official.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Straight Chilling. Each week, we watch and review a horror film for your entertainment. You can send all questions and comments to straightchillingpodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget to keep chilling.
Yeah, we straight chillin', serial killing. 5 cold villains on the mic, got you reeling. 5-star ratings from the floor to the ceiling. If you get your 1 star, no time for feelings. Got a demon DJ, all the 1s and 2s. By the name of someone, so don't get confused. So grab a seat by the fire, roast them all in 2. And prepare to hear the legend of the straight chillin' crew.
What up, nerds? And welcome to another politically charged episode of Straight Chilling. My name is Bob, and I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode number 253, recorded Sunday, February 9th, 2020. Tonight, we're going to be talking about another Patreon pick. It was chosen by Jim G. Baby. The movie is 1983's The Being. Before we get into the review, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Southern Korea, we got our boy Soju. What's up?
What up? It's your boy, Soju. Not used to going first, Bob. Damn, threw me for
Switching
a loop.
it up, man.
Yeah,
New year, new show.
I know. I deserve to go
anything.
first. I deserve it.
Oh.
I've earned it.
Wow.
Yeah, I definitely didn't earn it.
Wow. Last but not least, calling in from Astoria, Oregon, we got our boy Randy Gandy G. Landy.
How do? I'm a little tipsy already today.
Woo!
Today.
Sweet.
It's like an afternoon, Sunday afternoon, sipping.
Little afternoon
I got
delight,
me.
huh, Randy?
Delight. There
Yeah,
it
I've
is.
been drinking this. There's a local cider place called Reveille, and they have a cider called the Black Lodge, which for those in the know is a Twin Peaks reference and also a
Yeah.
delightful cider. So cheers to them. I'm really
It's
enjoying this
super
shit.
dark for a cider.
It's
Like
black.
berry and shit as well as
okay.
it's not just apple. They have like a ton of them, and it's definitely not restricted to apple.
Okay. That looks
Yeah,
good.
it's good shit.
Delicious.
I think it's Marionberry. I can't remember though, but it's great, and I'm tipsy as fuck.
No! Perfect. I think
All
this is a
right.
great movie to be tipsy and discuss.
Sobriety or
I'm
no,
excited.
this movie was the same for me, so we'll get there.
I am excited about it. Big thanks to Jim G. Baby for supporting us over on Patreon and picking this wild movie for us to talk about. But real quick, let's tackle some housekeeping. So regarding the Patreon stuff, the March poll pick is currently up on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about in March. The theme for March is going to be Universal monster movies. And we have The Invisible Man, The Mummy, and The Creature from the Black Lagoon up there for you to vote between. You have
Bob?
until the end of February to vote.
How are those
Juice.
numbers looking, Bob?
Those numbers are looking really nice. The Creature from the Black Lagoon is currently winning. The Mummy is falling like way, way far behind. The Invisible Man could make a comeback.
It's holding
and
true,
steal
huh?
the show.
Visible?
Yeah.
All right. I
It
don't
could
know.
happen.
It's tough. I kind of want to see the Invisible Man, but I'd be pretty down to see the Black
Yeah,
Rangoon. I'd be down for
Actually,
that.
yeah, any of those I would be fine with.
The
After
Black
listening to that,
Rangoon?
let's
The
get
Black Crab Rangoon.
the Ragoon.
Okay.
After listening to your Let's Get Physical Media interview, I kind of want to watch Black
Yeah.
Lagoon.
Yeah. We had an interview with Justin Beam, producer, director, all around super nice, awesome dude, Justin Beam on Let's Get Physical Media. And we talk about that. So check it out. If you're interested in the Creature from the Black Lagoon, check it out. Also in Patreon news, we have not one, but 2 new Patreon supporters that we got to give a shouts-outs to. So
Too. Ooh.
big thanks to Dalton B and Kaylin S for signing up on Patreon and showing us some love.
Whoa.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
You know what time it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's time
As is
for it.
tradition, the straight chilling salutes coming at you.
Dude, I got my
Here we
magic
go.
fingers. Here we go. One more. Randy, we have two.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Slap my ass!
When we start getting dozens at a time, that's going to be a problem. And we will.
Slap. Slap me, slap me,
You gotta-
slap me, slap me. in
Rapid
the
fire.
eye.
Rapid
Slap
fire that
me.
digit.
I can't. Oh, no, that's the wrong one anyway.
That's not the one.
Look,
Randy, you
this
have
shit
too
is
much
taped
control
together
now.
with will and spit. That's
And
it.
the
You know-
will is running low.
The will is running way low.
When Bob was in control of all the bumps, shit went nice and smooth.
Oh yeah, especially because we couldn't hear them and critique it appropriately.
The will is running low. Justin, you've got some shit to talk about. What's going on?
Guys, we've made it. The bracket of blood is going into its final round. So, if you are not aware of what's happening, we started a little game a few months ago called the Bracket of Blood. It was to determine what is the greatest horror film of the past decade. It has been a bracket-style elimination game starting with 128 horror films from the years 2010 to 2019. We have whittled them down, and we are down to a final 2 films going head-to-head this upcoming week. Those
Man,
2
and it's-
films are It Follows and Hereditary. Whoa. Here
Nice.
Guys, you really want to participate. Twitter, like Reddit, has recently called our bracket of blood something that, quote, seems to me a knockout competition is uniquely unsuited to establish a list of top films. So you really want to be a part of this, guys. It's a big deal.
Reddit is
Reddit
not really
unsuited.
about the Straight Chilling podcast,
It's
apparently.
really not.
It kind of aids
It
us.
never has been.
Like, even like comments like that, like, it's like, you don't like to play games?
I love.
But-
I think that shit was hilarious. He's like, they're not wrong. They're definitely.
I mean, they're
wrong.
not wrong.
It's just a bracket. It's for fun. Like, it's your opinion.
But it's
man.
uniquely unsuited, Rob. Uniquely.
So,
We couldn't have made the
You
bracket worse, apparently.
Look, no, if you had put it in a chicken coop and
Oh.
whichever chicken brought out the name of a movie on a piece of paper first wins, it still would have been better suited
that
than
is
what
su-
we have done here.
That is suited better for deciding what the
far
greatest
better
film of
suited.
the past decade is.
Yeah.
Damn, Reddit, cut us
Let's
some
throw that
fucking slack.
anyways.
Reddit doesn't do that. But yeah.
So if you would like to participate in the final round of the Bracket of Blood, you can do so on our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. The voting will go live Monday the 10th at midnight, and it will go until Friday the 14th, Valentine's Day. So before you go out on a nice hot date and take your yabos out, make sure you vote in the Bracket of Blood.
Or after or during. Vote during your Yabo out period. Please.
StraightChillingPodcast.com. You can also get updates on all of our socials, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. We will be keeping you updated until one film has been chosen victorious.
And the others
Yeah.
will be deleted from history.
You got to look your lover square in the eye mid-smash and be like, hang on, baby. I got to pull up this bracket of blood.
I got to
real quick.
vote in the Bracket of Blood.
Time's
I
running
vote.
out.
I know my
Rock the
yabos
vote,
are out
baby.
right now, but
We're going to rock
I
the
got-
vote here together, baby, all right?
I got to hunt
All
the
right.
vote.
haunt the
All
vote,
right.
Randy.
Who gives a fuck? Let's roll.
Yes.
We're
What else?
rolling.
So what else we got? We talked about Let's Get Physical Media. Oh, I was
Yes.
lucky enough to be invited on the Horrorphoria podcast this week.
Oh, boy.
It's for their 50th episode. So
Whoa.
congratulations to those guys.
God.
Very professional guys talking horror. And we were talking top 5 horror of all time. So it's kind of like a big deal for their 50th.
To date, that makes them the only other podcast that has the hat trick of us all as guests at individual moments. We've
It
all
is
been on that
true.
show.
It is
That's
true.
great. Thanks
And-
for you.
And if you would like to have one of the Straight Chillin' hosts on your podcast, it only takes a
We come
measly 10th owl for Soju, Randy, and Bob will do it for 2.
It's only $10 for me. 'Cause, it's me.
So you too could have yourself a Straight Chillin' host featured on your
10
show.
thou for
10
Soju.
thou.
That's a steal, honestly.
I know. Steve.
Know your worth, Justin. You can
I
get
know.
more than that.
I do. You know how much I
know.
love money. Money can get you anything. Love, fulfillment,
Happiness.
I love it.
Children, anything.
Man, the values
So-
we instill in our listeners are so good.
I know. So also regarding Let's Get Physical Media, episode number 4 is going to drop this Tuesday. So as you're listening to this show, it's probably already out there in your feed. We're talking about our pickups for the month of January 2020.
Talking about your jet skis, Bob. Talking about that Blade trilogy.
I think you're being broken into, Rob.
Holy fucking shit, dude. You scared the shit out of me. Welcome home.
Straight chillin'. Straight shit in your pants.
Yeah.
All right.
You want to do an episode right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
This
Scared
is
the
how the
shit out of
Synopsis is made.
That
Why
was
were you
Rob's
so
boss,
scared?
Satan.
Mike is supposed to be in Tennessee, but now he's in the
Uh,
kitchen.
Now he's using the microwave.
Somebody's breaking into my house calmly through the front door. They're slowly turning the lock.
No, that's not how that goes. Let me write that down.
This is gonna be good for the bonus footage.
This is what you get with the bonus. You get to see our lives.
Boner
Ugh.
This is how we
footage.
live.
Boner
You
footage.
guys think that we're just personalities living on a cloud in an ivory tower, but no, we're real people.
That's
Okay,
me, but yeah.
I mean Justin does, but not all of us.
So yeah, keep an eye out for episode number 4 of Let's Get Physical Media in your podcast feed on Tuesday. I don't know.
Bob,
That's it.
you
got anything
also
else?
released a mini cast for this
Yes.
podcast. The
Miniature
important one.
cast. It's a good
True.
one.
What is that mini cast
Go-
on, Bob?
Go one episode back, and then you'll find that mini cast. It's on Gretel and Hansel, which was just released in the theatre last week. You want my thoughts on it? You got to put it in your ear holes.
There you
Give it a
go.
listen.
Put Rob's thoughts in your ear holes.
You won't be sorry.
Right in
I
the
think
hole.
that might not be true.
Agree to disagree.
All right.
Do you have anything else, Juice, or has this house been
Well,
kept?
I don't know. We do so many things these days. There's a new. I guess since our last episode was last Monday, there's a new top 5 video in our YouTube stream. If you are interested in Korean horror,
Hot shit.
yeah, I put that up on our YouTube, youtube.com/Straight Chilling Podcast. Bob gave me a ton of shit because Scream wasn't on there. I told him, Bob, it's not always about Scream. You know, this is top 5 Korean horror, okay? Korean horror, Bob. He just
You
can't
just
get,
made that up.
you can't get Scream off the brain.
Completely made that up. I don't know what you're talking about.
That's-
I'm uninterested in this beef. So shall we?
Me too. It's
And I
grown
think-
in the lab.
This
And I
is this is
think-
chipped beef right
I-
here, and I'm not interested.
I think this house has been kept.
I think so too. Let's go ahead and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randy, what you been watching?
I guess I'll go right on ahead. So
Bob was delayed.
my week has been pretty damn full, but I did manage to squeeze in one new film, which is called Wrinkles the Clown. Are you guys familiar with this?
No.
I started watching that today, actually.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's I think it just came onto Hulu. At least it was just started being promoted on there, but it's a documentary. And you guys may or may not remember a few years back, there was a little bit of a a surge of people dressing as creepy clowns and just wandering the streets and waving at people and shit.
Okay, I remember us watching the trailer. I remember us watching the trailer for this, I think. Talking about it in news.
So this is a documentary about sort of like, as far as the documentary is concerned, as far as I know, the first person to actually do that. And it is like, I don't want to spoil anything because like the story gets a little like, takes a little bit of a twist at one point. But it's a fucking interesting documentary. And like what was interesting to me also is that it's like the epicenter of all of this like was in Florida. And so it was down in Naples, Fort Myers area of Florida. That's southwest Florida for those interested. And so this sort of like this clown, like creepy clown wandering sort of thing, it started there. And I actually know some people from down there, and I texted all of them and I was like, hey, do you know who this is? I'm just curious. Like, and they were like, no, we don't fucking know who this guy is and all this shit. But the documentary itself was really interesting, and it's what's fascinating is it's sort of like this guy Wrinkles, at least in that area, and at least like on some level, it has some sort of cultural relevance with on par with like a Slender Man or that sort of thing. But it's an actual dude who has a physical entity of some kind. So it's just, I don't know. It's tough to really say more than that without like getting into the specifics. But
so it's a documentary. It's not like a series.
It's a true documentary.
Okay.
It's not a series, and it's not fictionalized. Like it's the true thing supposedly. So I do recommend it. I think it's pretty interesting. It's low impact. It's something you can like sort of watch, and you don't have to. You can do other things while you're watching it and still enjoy it. I don't know. For me, it was cool to see how that came about, because I remember all those like the news stories that came out about all these things happening. It was mostly local news, but then it became sort of like a national like firestorm where people went viral for doing what is basically like the oldest scare 'em tactic in the book of just like being a creepy person out back or whatever. And I don't know. It's fun. It's a fun watch. I would recommend it. I especially watch it to the end though. Watch it to the end.
Nah, I'm just gonna watch like 20 minutes.
20 minutes is not enough.
I did not finish it yet, but it's interesting. Like the whole thing is like this guy is like a scary clown for hire to scare your shitty kids straight. Like if your kid's not behaving,
if your kids are misbehaving,
is there a huge market for that?
Well, he's cornered it, I guess. Apparently. Yeah, he's got stickers with his name Wrinkles, his horrifying visage, and then his number at the bottom. Yeah. And parents call, and you can hear like recordings from the voicemail of parents being like, Wrinkles, I need you to come and take my kids away. And the kids are like, no!
No! Why can't parents just be good parents and parents?
No. Wrinkles is there. That's why.
I think that's kind of hilarious. I called the number. You can still call and leave a voicemail.
Can you really? I didn't try it.
Yeah, it still works.
Wrinkles, come get my kid.
Wrinkles, I need you to come take away a naughty child. And what's great is Wrinkles has some like crazy Brooklyn accent or something. I don't know what that accent is.
It's fake. Though. He says it's fake.
Well,
I kind of think
it's a shtick.
His whole deal is
I mean, it's like the voice and everything. The character of Wrinkles, it's a shtick. So he's like, oh yeah, I like to scare the kiddies or whatever. And it's like, it's really funny to listen to him talk because it's a really like overt character voice.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's all really.
I watched Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Oh God.
With Mr. Michael Rooker. Man, that dude has a type of role, I guess.
Troubled loner? I don't know.
Well, I don't. He's just kind of. I guess he's always just kind of like a standoffish guy in any kind of role he plays. But
he plays someone's daddy in the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. Anyways, this is a movie from, if you haven't seen it, it's a movie from the 80s, 1986, I believe, where Michael Rooker is just a serial killer. But it's played like really, it's kind of like a slasher because like he hunts out his victims. But at one point he like just steals like a video camera and he's got a buddy who helps him. And they just like film themselves like just killing people for no reason, essentially. I mean, sometimes they rob them, but for the most part, they just like Michael Rooker enjoys killing people. So it's about that, and it's played like really straight. There's no like there's no kind of whimsy like from like a slasher perspective like about it.
No,
it's literally just
it
like,
plays like tonally like a documentary almost.
yeah.
So,
it's like
yeah,
played really straight. It's really
that's
disturbing.
a tough one.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. So I watched that. On the flip side, I also finished Sabrina. And her third season, which is very different from Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer.
Are you sure?
It is. I finished that. While I was watching it, I was like, is this the Buffy of this generation? I was trying to decide, like, is it, because I enjoyed like Buffy like growing up, but I don't want to revisit it because I think like I don't think it would hold up like I remember it. Like I think it's way more teeny bopper than I remember it being, and I just don't like.
As somebody who only watched it like a couple episodes as an adult,
Okay.
yeah, you would probably not be happy you rewatched it.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, so I was.
It established a lot of things that are now pretty fucking hard to swallow.
Okay. Well, so
Know what I
maybe
mean?
it is. Maybe it's the Buffy of the generation because it does some horror things well. I feel like I want to like it more than I actually do because, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, that's like a cool horror element that they're adding into this kind of teeny bopper show. But for the most part, it's like a little nonsensical in its delivery. But whatever. I
Is
think
there
that's
a
it.
talking cat?
No, there's not. He doesn't even talk.
Well, what's the point? What is the fucking point?
There's a cat, but he doesn't talk. Yeah. But that's it. That's all I've been watching. Bob, what have you been watching?
I watched The Fly from 1958 for the first time.
Oh,
You guys seen
man.
that?
Gee.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah, it's goofy.
It's a goofy goddamn movie.
Yeah. Starring Vincent Price among some other people.
I
I
think
got
your
that.
husband might be a fly.
I got that Scream Factory box set with all the Fly movies in it, so I started working through those, and it's solid for what it is, but it's very like melodramatic, and there's not a whole lot of like creature effects, and what you do get is like pretty hammy because it is what it is. Yeah, but I did enjoy
That shit is
it
wild.
though.
That shit is
Like-
fucking. It's hokey as shit, but it has its
Yeah.
charm. It's not without its charm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. It's nothing like the Cronenberg movie. They're just incredibly different films, but anything with Vincent Price in it is like worth watching to me on some level.
I am now imagining a little fly with Goldblum's head on it saying like, help me.
This is
help
this is,
me.
I'm gonna. I'm hoping you can help me. Help me.
That is a YouTube video waiting to be made. Somebody needs to take Goldblum from Jurassic Park laughing at a at a spider and put it on a fly's body now. You need to do it now.
Get to work.
You other people make the memes for us, please.
This is gold. I'm giving you free gold.
Free
Yeah.
gold. Just
Yeah.
scoop it up off the streets.
Straight Chillin' Boys giving away free gold this week. Have you heard? It's crazy.
All you gotta do is work for it.
Right. I also started watching the Netflix series Lock and Key. I got about 3 episodes into the 10-episode season. And I read all the books a few years ago, and I really enjoyed those. And so far, the show's solid. It's like, I think it's just geared towards like teenagers, which is cool. So it's got sort of like a lighter, more whimsical kind of tone. And I wish it was a little darker than it is going, or than it seems like it's gonna go anyways. It's enjoyable nonetheless. Yeah.
I've heard it compared to a series of unfortunate events. How true is that?
I've
The
never seen
series.
that. I've never seen
Oh,
that,
okay.
but I could. It's
That's
probably
like
true.
super whimsical. That's
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy whimsical.
That's
That's the
like
reason
a
I asked. It's
world
like,
of
but it's
whimsy.
still like that is also in its own right something of a dark story. So,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So I was just wondering where it fell on that spectrum. But yeah, we'll have to get somebody who's seen both to lay the law on that.
Yeah, they do make some changes from the books, and some of them are like entirely necessary, I think, because to pull it off like on a TV show would be like so goofy. I don't know how you could do it. I'm not even sure how you could do it.
People's
But
heads on flies and stuff.
yeah, some close.
All right.
But so far it's pretty good. It's I think it's worth watching. I'll finish it up and report back at a later date.
Are the books more like horror driven? Is that their thing, or just adjacent?
It's adjacent.
Okay.
I don't know. They do some pretty crazy shit in the books, but
Okay.
there's definitely like some genuinely horrifying things that happen. So I'm hoping that like when the shit hits the fan in the show, they like really don't pull the punches. But yeah, I don't know yet. I haven't gotten there.
Right.
So.
I didn't know if
We'll
you're
see.
like, man, this was a horror book and they've really neutered it, you know, bruh.
No. Bruh.
Where's all the eviscerations?
I need some guts. Where are all my guts?
Bruh. All right.
So yeah, that's pretty much all.
Aren't you being a little stupid?
Yes. Oh, gave Randy too much power. Let's go and get to the main event. We're talking about The Being from 1983. Let's kick it off in the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
All right. This was written and directed by Jackie Kong, starring Martin Landau, Marianne Gordon, Bill Osco, and some other folks. The
Ruth Buzzy.
The synopsis is as follows. A mutated creature is wreaking havoc in a small town in Idaho. A police chief and a government scientist team up to save their rural town from its menace. I am sure I know the answer to this question. Have you guys seen this movie before? And would you recommend people check it out? Randy,
Rob, this in our household, this is a standard classic come Christmas time. We watch this every holiday,
I
Yuletide.
mean, Easter time.
No. We watch it around Christmas time. We don't give a shit about no eggs in my family.
we don't give no shit.
We don't give no shits. We do love taters, though. And
Whoa.
Christmas time's a time for taters, the being,
Taters.
and love.
Yeah. So yes.
Yep. So I would not recommend this movie, and I have not seen it before.
Gotcha. Juice, what about you?
I have never seen this movie before. I think there's an audience for this movie because this movie to me is very forgettable. But it's because it's like, if you like 80s horror, like this is like just one of those just forgotten multitudes of like 80s horror. Like it hits every beat of like the standard 80s horror, which a ton of people like love the shit out of 80s horror. So if you like love the decade and you're just like, you know, looking for that vibe, then I think that you probably would dig on this movie because it's like pretty like cookie cutter 80s horror, in my opinion. Like it fits that mold perfectly. It wasn't for me, but I know there's a huge audience out there for that sort of thing. So
Totally. I've never seen this movie before, never heard of it. I do recommend it with a caveat, though. So it's not particularly well crafted.
okay.
But it can be very enjoyable if you just you just gotta switch your brain off and just let it happen. There's a lot of like
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
yeah, there's a lot of goofy lines like that. There's a lot of bizarre acting choices. The editing is so bad that it's kind of funny in certain situations. The monster is silly and almost like negligible in this movie, really, except for the last like 15 minutes or so. It's just goofy as hell, but it hit me in kind of a sweet spot, and I like enjoyed the shit out of it, really. So I recommend it. Just know that it's not going to be this like amazing movie.
It ain't an opus. It's more of an anus.
Yeah. Also, some of the other. So as soon as the movie started, the first thing reading the credits as they're on, I was like, man, so many of these names sound like porn star names.
The
Some
80s, baby.
Some of the few I had to mention was Rex Coltrane,
Rex.
Kinky Friedman, Johnny Dark, and the writer-director Jackie Kong, I think, could even pass as a strange sort of porn star name. So
Especially in the
I don't know.
80s.
That shit was cracking me up. In the 80s. What?
Well done.
I don't think about all of you.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
These soundboard clips you picked, Rob. What the fuck?
Yeah, you just don't know how to use them yet. Train them.
Oh, it's my fault. Okay.
You got a rapid fire.
Why don't you be a little stupid?
Slap me in the ass like that.
Oh yeah, you just gotta like slam it so that the words are completely lost and it's just a sound.
Yeah,
That's the way to go.
that's how
so-
comedy works, Randy.
At
That
least one of these
sounds-
bumps are racist.
That sounds like one recommend, one half recommend, and one no from the Straight Chilling crew. Let's go ahead and drop that spoiler warning, and we'll get into the rest of the being.
Spoiler warning.
I like to start off by saying I know why Rob likes this film so much. It's the
Wow.
extra.
Is it
it's
the Yabos?
It's the extra teeth. Rob loves extra teeth, and this monster delivers. Rob loves the extra teeth.
I'm a teeth man.
He's
Yeah,
all
always
teeth.
have been.
Rob wants.
If there's
like-
one thing you could say about Rob is that he really loves lots of teeth.
So many
Send
teeth.
him pics of all your teeth.
The more teeth, the better.
Rob always
So-
requests extra teeth. I hear.
From who? Let's not. This movie takes place in the small town of Pottsville, Idaho. And it starts off with like this radio personality just kind of talking at you. He's warning there's like a lot of bad weather heading towards the town, and so there's a few people that have
Didn't
gone
even
missing.
start with a monologue before that. Doesn't like a deep
Yes.
voice come on and say
No,
like
I
That's-
watched.
That's after this.
Dude, I watched
Is
the
it?
first 10 minutes of
Yes.
this movie like probably
Okay.
4 times. I still couldn't
Yeah.
tell you for
it's,
sure.
It's very. I got lost in this movie a lot too.
Yeah, so there's like so the radio personality is talking at you, and he's like, yeah, it looks like we're gonna have one wet Easter Sunday. And then the like voiceover that you're talking about starts. So there's like
Okay.
a double
Yeah,
voiceover.
that's right. There's a voiceover from the radio jockey. He's like, "Oh, welcome to Potato Land,
Yeah.
where we're gonna potato our lives to death, and everybody loves some Fleetwood Mac. We're gonna play some of that later, and yeah, we'll get ready for Easter." And then a guy comes in, and it's very evocative of the Little Shop of Horrors movies, like. In the year 1983, a comet slammed into Earth and shat out a being, and that being is now in the most unlikely place of all, Idaho. And that's really just kind of the thing.
Potatoes?
Yeah. So this is set in Idaho, and they love the
God.
shit out
Somebody-
of potatoes.
The state of Idaho paid for this movie. Is the only thing I can imagine. It's true.
Yeah, so people have gone missing, as we've been told by the voiceover, and then we come to find this child wearing a red hat, and he's like snooping around in this like weird like toxic field of some
Junkyard?
shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he gets startled and he starts hauling some ass, and he's like driving down the road, and this monster pops up and like rips his head clean off his body, and then the car runs off the side of the road into this like mountain of boxes that are filled with potatoes. 'Cause,
You know,
Always
Idaho.
potatoes. It's
Big
always
potato.
about the damn potatoes.
it is.
it's really,
Potatoes?
it's just all it is.
Potatoes?
Around here, that means big money.
The evils
here,
of big potato.
That means big money.
So this movie, at this point, so it's hard for me to see like somebody wearing a red hat and not immediately connect that to modern day politics. And I was like, this kid's
Oh, is
wearing a
that
red
why
hat.
you brought up politics? What the fuck does this
Kids
movie?
wearing a red hat.
Yeah, well, I had a politically charged episode of Straight Chillin'. What are you
I
talking
don't know,
about?
man.
So there's a lens through which you can view this movie and
No,
see
you
this as
got a
being like
lens.
a perfect modern day political allegory in which I will be discussing.
Why don't you be a little stupid?
Rob, you know I don't allow politics into my horror films.
I do
You
know, but I
excise
do
the
not
power.
care. I do not care.
We're gonna get arrested.
We got a lot of sound clips going.
That sound clip has an unnecessary gap in it.
I love how that man says the word arrested.
Gonna
Arrested.
get her?
Gonna get
Hold on,
arrested.
let's go to the tape.
We're gonna get arrested.
We're gonna get arrested.
Gonna get arrested.
There's just no S in there. There's just no S in there. The word arrested. We're gonna get arrested.
But yeah, so this kid gets his head ripped clean off, and that sort of like put me in the mindset of like, oh, that's interesting. Well, and then I just sort of like carried that throughout the rest of the movie and noticed a lot of other things. Which
So you
Well,
just made your own world out of this movie.
Yeah.
So
I
what
did a lot of
this movie's
a
really
lot of
good
heavy
because
lifting.
your imagination is good.
I guess.
True.
Because for me, this movie was a very dark, muddy mess where I was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on most of the time.
Justin, where you and I looked and saw a cardboard box, Rob saw a whole movie worth watching.
I did. My mind was
With
going
the
wild.
budget. This
With a
monster.
budget and a point.
This monster is goopy as shit, and he's got all kind of wild teeth and like one eye. Does he just have the one eye?
He's got one eye,
And
which
you use the same shot so many.
Yeah.
which can be viewed as the patriarchy.
What?
No, he can't.
Are you okay?
No,
all right.
no,
Are
he
you like
can't
getting
do it.
crib
Or
notes from
the
Joe Bob? What is
sexual
this?
repression, or the sexual repression of all of the white males in this movie. There's a lot you can read into here.
Okay.
I'm just getting started.
I don't.
Bob,
I am just
Bob,
getting
there's
started.
no Joe in front of your name, Bob. You don't get to do
So-
that.
We gotta get to it. We gotta get to the monster.
Aren't you being a little stupid?
The last
Let's
15 or 20
let's
minutes
get
of this
to
movie.
it. Well,
Okay,
he
fine.
he goes.
Rob, you're gonna have
he's-
to describe most of this movie because
That's fine.
there's no memory of it. I might
We
as well
meet-
listen to it like a white noise generator. That's all.
That is absolutely fine. We meet this officer Dudley, who is
What's his name?
racist. Officer Dudley.
Officer Dudley. He's the
Yeah.
racist
Is he the
one, or
blonde
is
one,
there
like
Yeah.
the guy who
racist?
brings
Yeah.
in the guy for
the
fishing?
overtly racist one, or the guy who's just like, you
The-
scamp and you're
No,
racist?
he's the overt blonde racist fellow who arrests a Mexican gentleman just for fishing without a license, and he's
Who-
done it like multiple times.
Also, questionably Mexican. Questionably.
No, he is like
okay.
described as a Mexican.
Well,
person in the
described.
movie.
No, I
Look.
know, but the actual actor.
I
he's
feel like that
saying.
actor
Oh
might be
yeah,
white.
yeah. I got you. Yeah, true. For considering the context of the movie, this person who was arrested is a Mexican person.
Yes.
He-
Okay.
He's arrested for
He's
arrested.
fishing. He is fully erect while fishing without a license. He's loving it.
He's old.
But this cop is like, yeah, this is the fourth one today, and he's like, talking shit to this dude as he's hauling him in. He's like, you know how many tacos you got to sell to pay for this fine I'm about to give you? And he's just like full of himself, and he's like just a huge piece of shit. This dude's trying to mind his own business, just trying to fish, and like
Yeah, this dude's trying to fish. He catches like 6 trout or something. The guy's like,
Yeah.
I got me some trout from this guy who likes tacos. And now- I mean, that's how we wound up.
Crazy taco bender.
Yeah, so racism exists in our sound clips
Exactly.
today.
it is the '80s.
It is
calls him-
therefore racism.
It's also 2020. We got to build a wall, don't we, gentlemen? We got to build
Rob!
that wall.
I want to build a wall between the two of us at this point. That's what's
How
happening.
many times do I have to tell you
I'm just saying.
about my
This
policy?
movie
Justin
can
does
be
not
viewed
accept.
as the perfect modern day political allegory. That's the point I'm
Justin's
making.
going to take your political lens and he's going to just throw it away. He's throwing
What
it
do
in
the
trash.
potatoes represent, Bob? I mean, that's really what I
Big
want.
business.
Potatoes?
Around here, that
Yeah.
means big money.
Because
That's
they're
what
not.
makes big
They're
money.
clearly not potatoes.
So that could be viewed as like insurance, big pharmaceutical companies, anything where small or big government is selling the people out to make $1, which
Okay.
happens.
How
all
did
the
we
time.
get here? How did
We're
we
talking
get
about the evils of Big Potato
Oh,
tonight on Straight Chilling
my
Podcast.
Lord.
Okay, speaking of big potato, so like the mayor is also like the manufacturer of a shit ton of potatoes. That's the
Yeah, he's like a farmer and the mayor.
and so
Actually-
he doesn't want to know stuff, or I'm just too busy. I'm a potato farmer. What kind of time do I have in my life?
Yeah, actually, hang on. I want to set up
And the mayor.
the initial conflict in this movie, because now that I'm thinking about it, without Bob's crazy shit, it's kind of confusing me. Because hang on, let me present it to you as I'm confusingly trying to understand it. So one of the main conflicts early in the movie, they're watching the local news. And there's a guy on there, and he's talking about pollution or radiation coming from the water. And he's like, no, we can dump stuff in the aquifer. Look, it doesn't affect the water.
He's paid.
I'll drink
The
it.
potato people are dumping toxic stuff.
Yeah. Well, then it's like, but then there's also a dump that they say is one of 2,000 around the United States. So there's like a whole aquifer aspect. There is a dump aspect, and then there's like Big Potato. Who I would assume would want to protect the aquifer in order to grow their potato. Is Big Potato the one who is polluting their own potato land?
No. Let me explain.
Please explain.
Okay, so this small town has basically like sold off a portion of their property to let people dump toxic waste, and they're getting paid for letting people do.
Okay, so the mayor agreed to this and is also a potato farmer.
Right, and that's poisoning.
So
That's poisoning the aquifer. So he hires the scientists to come into town and test the water and go on TV and say like, no, it's cool. I'll drink it myself. Everybody's fine. Everybody's safe. And then on top of that, he doesn't want the word to get out that the aquifer in the land is being poisoned, because then if people realize, they'll stop buying his potatoes and it'll be really fucked. Because that's the main income of the town is the potato money.
So if that's the main income of the town is the potatoes, then why does he want to lie about it? Why doesn't he like want to clean the aquifer?
Because he wants to double dip. He's trying to get paid on both ends because he's crooked as fuck. He's a crooked mayor.
All right.
He's trying to get
Walter
he's not seeing
Matthau's
the
out there
long
being
game.
like,
He's not seeing that his potatoes.
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
So to jump to the end of this movie, he is playing the long con because he becomes president of the United States.
Yes.
He does.
Wait, what?
Did you guys not watch the whole movie?
No, I told you this movie is a dull hum of a movie.
Did they give you that?
My eyes open.
Did they give you the information like in the words? The words.
Literally. Yeah.
Oh
after the
yeah.
movie,
Okay. No.
it's
Yeah.
like,
I
where are
remember
they
that
now?
happened. I don't remember anything because who are these? At the end of this movie, I didn't know who these characters were. That's
true.
not good.
Yeah. When they give you words at the end of this movie, it's like blah blah blah. Like
this
when
isn't
to do
fucking-
this, it's like I don't know.
There.
I don't know who these people are.
This isn't National Lampoon's fucking Animal House. This is supposed to be a horror movie.
I found that a very strange decision because I was like, clearly they didn't establish these characters well enough for me to care about what they're doing after this movie.
Machine. It just shits out exposition, and not all of it makes sense, and it all comes in and it sounds a lot like this.
To your points, this movie is difficult to follow largely due to the editing. And it almost seems like a series of non sequiturs where it's just like, here's a character we don't know anything about.
Yeah.
We don't learn anything about until the very end of the movie. And then you're like, why was there no build up about this character? It's just like, we see like, there's just a music recital. And then there's just this lady working in a diner that we're supposed to care
and
about.
there's like a hand job
with
masseuse that's coming
officer.
into town. And
Yeah, what was up with that? So there's a bunch of
there's a
people
dream
protesting.
sequence with a witch with I don't know, man.
Yeah,
a massage parlor that's gonna give people handy J's supposedly, but all they know is a table went in there.
Yeah, so on top of potatoes and aquifers and radiation, there's also this anti-porno, and then so they're like anti-pornography, which has nothing to do with then a massage parlor, which they're gonna like be sexually charged, and I'm like, what is that? What are they shooting pornos there too? Are they giving handy J's by day, shooting pornos? What's up with what is the problem here?
Somebody's never been to a massage parlor.
To give more context there, so there's like this whole campaign that's going on during Easter Sunday, which is kind of bizarre. They have like Easter Sunday parade, and then the mayor's wife,
right?
Yeah, the mayor's wife is heading up this like campaign to sweep the smut out of town. And the mayor's there, and he's on camera, and they're talking about
Walter
how
Matthau's there being Walter Matthau.
Yeah, everybody has their responsibility. They all share their responsibility to like rid the town of pornography, and they're standing outside of this vacant shop where the mayor's wife thinks a massage parlor is going to go into, and she thinks it will be a massage parlor in which they'll jack you off. It might not even be a massage parlor.
Yeah, all they know is there's
She
a
has
table.
no
I
idea.
get the joke, but this is there's
Yeah, but
so
why?
much. Yeah, like we don't even understand the conflict of the movie at this
Yeah.
point. Even now,
It's
but
true.
at that point, like, do we really need to complicate the works with a potential handy J station that people are upset about?
I got very confused. I was like, how
I
is
thought
this
it-
playing into anything?
It is confusing, but I thought it was hilarious. It
I mean, it was kind of
I
funny,
did
but that's
not.
like, I don't know.
Or
I
well, I
understood
just-
that better than I understood the central conflict of this movie. That's not fucking good. It's really not good. And it's not, I mean, I'm not claiming to be a smart guy, but I can follow a movie if the movie
Let's talk
is
about the
watchable.
horror aspects of this.
Is there some?
Well,
Oh,
yeah.
wait.
At first, this Goop Monster, he
Rob, your burrito's ready.
Oh,
Okay.
it's not delivery.
Crazy taco bender.
okay. So
Racism.
at first, the Goop Monster, he shows up at a drive-in like theater. He kills some people there. He rips somebody. So somebody sees him rip their friend out of the car and calls the police. And they're
But he's
like,
stoned, so he can't.
yeah,
handle the
okay,
question
yeah,
then.
he is stoned, yeah. And then
Like hilariously stoned. I'll give him that.
and then the Goop Monster also goes after like the main cop, Lutz. Lutz is his name, right?
Yeah, he gets slime on his ass, and then
Like,
the slime
Yeah, in his house.
follows him home, and is then
his-
under his bed.
His name is Mort.
Who gives a shit?
Okay.
No, it's Mort. His name is Mort.
Okay, I don't know how. Okay. And he escapes the slime monster by running past a train, which
Yeah, What the fuck was that?
But then I was like, is he never gonna go home?
But
Because it was in his home.
the train was like 3 cars long, and then it was gone. And it's like anything that was chasing you would just be standing there, ready to eat your asshole out right then and there.
Damn.
After he runs by the train, he's lying on the ground and trying to catch his breath. And then this man drives up next to him in a tractor and somehow surprises him, like sneaks up on him in a giant tractor.
Yes.
And the guy's like, "Oh, I didn't see you there."
That scene is nuts. Like, first of all, okay, I have some notes. I don't usually take notes, but I literally took notes in this movie to keep myself paying attention. So the first one speaks to your editing thing, and it's a sidebar here, but speaking to the bad editing, I wrote, is this an inner monologue or is it just awful dubbing? When we had Mort sitting in the police station, I just thought that his mouth wasn't moving, and I was like, what? Like, this doesn't sound like there was no reverb, nothing that would indicate that this person we've never heard speak before wasn't speaking out loud. It's like, oh, there's Officer Dudley being a jerk. It's like, oh, is this out loud? What's fucking happening? What is happening? Okay, but that aside.
There's also another like random sequence where after he like goes and investigates the drive-in and like sits in the pile of goo, and he's walking back to his car, and it turns into this like film noir moment where he's walking down a dark alley to his car, and we just hear his inner monologue, and he's like, "Something's freaky around here.
Something, yeah.
I wish I could put my finger on it." And then he gets in his car, and there's just this drunk passed out in the backseat of his car.
Yeah. He's like, you
For
better
no
get
reason.
out of here.
Shoots him, yeah.
That's that.
He's
That's
like,
Mo. That's a generous cop. I give him credit for that shit.
Yeah, he also says, like, you're going to get killed one of these days if you keep getting drunk and passing out in people's back seats. It's like, this happens a lot?
Yeah, this has happened more than once. That man needs more than a stern talking.
Why
to,
is
probably.
nobody
Arrest that
locking
man.
their car doors? And also,
going back-
why
Idaho.
is that the
Idaho.
solution to, like, getting blackout drunk is let me find the nearest car so I can pass out in their backseat.
So throughout the entirety of my notes, I did refer to Mort, who is apparently called Mort. I refer to him as Detective Slimeass because this dumb piece of shit is investigating the last car in the fucking drive-in. They're like, yeah, this guy disappeared. And they talk to the high kid, and they're like, okay, a monster attacked your friend. Yeah, right. And the guy's like, brr, and walks away. And so the detective then gets into the car without looking and has just slime all over his asshole, all over it. And
Everywhere.
presumably the slime on his asshole is what comes with him home and then attacks him from under the bed. That editing was fucking dog shit.
So
He just
I
was
think-
all of a sudden at home, and he was in a t-shirt instead of a button-up. His cap was still on, and he was getting into bed with his fucking ball cap on. Which that little thing really blew my goddamn mind. I was like, okay, like this guy doesn't look when he gets into a car and he goes to bed with a fucking ball cap on. Who is this person? Nobody's ever existed like this. And then so like he goes to get into bed and then the monster's under his bed. Like there's nothing between. Like we're connecting the dots for ourselves at this point.
At that point in the movie, when he pulls his sheets back, it looks like just like a solid 2 or 3 inch thick layer of green Jello all over his bed.
And it came from the slime on his ass on his jeans. How did it get there? Did it slide between his sheets just for that moment? Did he not take off his ball cap for any reason? Give me an answer, movie. Give me a fucking answer.
It may be crass to mention, but
Aren't you being a little stupid?
My immediate thought was like, Bill Cosby is the monster of this movie. Like, there's green Jello everywhere. I don't know. My mind connected the dots.
That's an entirely different
is
horror
locked
movie,
up in
Rob.
one of those tiny rooms with all the papers on the on the string.
We're gonna get arrested.
Arrested. We're gonna get arrested.
It sounds like he says erected.
We're gonna get erected.
We're going to
Yeah.
get erected.
We're going to become erected.
See, that's just that sexual repression.
Oh,
All these
yeah,
white
you got
men
us,
Oh,
Rob.
are
Yeah,
sexually
because we
repressed,
made 3
God-fearing
intentional mishearings
individuals.
of a line.
Midwestern, God-fearing, sexually repressed white men are terrifying, and that's what this movie's all about. That
Well done.
I'm
Fuck
worrying
off.
about all of you.
Fuck off.
I don't know. They are bringing
That's
a massage
terrible clip.
parlor into town, Bob, to take care of themselves.
It's-
Yeah,
well,
man, they're not
somebody's
that
bringing
for us.
it. We don't. It's probably the mayor's bringing it, and he's going to try and make a little side hustle on that.
Oh, yeah, man.
But that's
But
wrong,
weed in
Bob,
this
because, you know, he's sexually
his wife
repressed. Is
that
he
says
good or
no,
bad,
actually.
Bob? Come
He-
on.
he-
Make a
Well,
he's
he's
decision.
his
bad.
wife, and she's like a hard ass on him about smut.
He is not sexually repressed. Everybody else seemingly is, though. He leans into it. He's got a little matchbook with some titties on it, so that's how we know.
Can we
There you
talk
go.
about the witch?
Yeah, we can, and we should.
What the fuck's going on with this poor woman? Her kid's missing, right? Her kid is the kid with the red ball cap. Did I gather that correctly?
Yeah, from the beginning. Yeah,
From the beginning, who had his head removed?
Is
but
it?
you got to do a lot of work to figure that the fuck out.
Yeah, I know.
You really
I-
do,
That's why I'm
yeah.
confirming and not
Okay.
stating.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we first see this lady, and she's just like minding her own business, and these kids throw like mud on her front door and call her a witch and run
We
away.
hope that's mud.
Yeah, hopefully it's mud. It might be the doo-doo.
I assume
and,
that was shit.
And then the creature like walks into her house, and she
Right
wakes
here,
up
that's
in
big
the,
business.
in the middle of the night, and she's like screaming for Michael, whom I thought when I was watching, I was like, Michael is her husband that's in the house, I guess. And then she runs
I thought it was her
outside
kid.
and is screaming for Michael, and I was like, well, who is Michael? Where is Michael? Are we supposed to know who Michael is?
No, yeah, at
I
the
don't know.
beginning. At the beginning. So during that dialogue, they specifically say some people have gone missing in this town.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
this kid Michael. They specifically say this kid Michael. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Oh.
And that's how
I
like
missed
the
that.
voiceover tells us
Yeah, it
there
says
is
his
a
name's
kid
Michael.
named Michael
I think
missing.
I internalized that. Yes.
Gotcha.
So yeah, her kid is the kid that's missing, and she's like, this monster shows up, and she's crazy, so she adopts the slime monster. But why is she considered a witch in the first place? How long has her kid been missing, and now she's considered a witch? What the fuck's going on?
Doesn't take long, man. Kids are
Dude.
mean.
Oh man.
So wait,
Don't
the
throw their
monster,
shit on
Old
you.
Lady Gertrude, her kid's missing. She's a witch now.
the
She's a
monster
witch.
She's
is
a witch. Let's throw shit on her.
the monster is Michael, who he turned into a slime monster because of radiation, right? That's what.
So
it
wait,
ends
he
up,
is
right?
the slime monster? Is that
I
the
thought-
idea?
I thought the idea
Maybe.
was that
I thought
Mike.
he just got killed by it, and she's crazy.
I
It
didn't.
did rip his head off.
No, I didn't think that was Michael though. I thought Michael is a missing
Hmm.
kid.
Oh, a person that was already missing beforehand.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought Michael was a missing
Maybe.
kid who was
Fucking maybe.
exposed to radiation and became this slime monster. That's what I thought.
I don't.
That- Look,
think that
all of these things are possible because as much expository dialogue as there's in this movie, it still makes no goddamn sense. How can you have this many moments of like, so this must be happening because of this, without it making any fucking sense?
Because the monster's kind of humanoid. Like, it's like...
Yeah.
It looks
I think the
like
kid in the beginning is Michael, and then that somehow turned into the monster. Because
also
it goes home, but it doesn't kill the lady. You know what I'm saying? So that's got to be her kid.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
We know the kid in the beginning is Michael. So,
spoiler alert, but the old lady, the witch lady, like the only other time she shows up in the movie is she's addressed by what's her name, the female character, the waitress woman.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The waitress character shows up somehow to her house for some reason, and she's like, "Oh, what's Michael? What are you talking about?" And shows that she's kind of like out of it. And then that's it. And then the crawl at the end of the movie says she was never heard from. She was last seen like in Daytona or some shit, just wandering the streets. Like, this is the saddest character on film. Period.
She's still looking for her kid, like randomly somewhere.
That is the saddest character arc of all time, and like it got no love whatsoever. Nobody gave a shit. This movie certainly didn't.
This movie's weird.
Also,
it all culminates in a showdown and it does have Yabos. It will get a half.
It has Yabos in the film.
We're
We're
not at the showdown yet. Let's not jump.
We're not.
Okay. There's a lot.
Look, I have a lot of notes. I gotta make these jokes sometime.
I have pages of notes. There's a scene like Sunday, Easter morning. The weather clears up somehow. We go to a church setting. They're having like an Easter egg hunt with all these kids. And it's just tiny little baby girl, and she's adorable. She's trying to get some eggs. But these like older kids keep snatching them up. They're being dicks. And then she like walks over to this hole in the ground, which there's like some goo. Yeah, she's super, super tiny. There's some goo. You think she's going to get eaten by it. But she finds like this big prize-winning egg and whatnot. It's sort of like a fake-out situation, which I think it would have been awesome if they like opened the egg and there's a monster in it or something that jumped out on somebody's face or whatever, but they didn't really do that. It's kind of like a misdirect
all
situation.
That scene establishes is Ruth Buzzy as like the annoying like preacher school marm type. That's really it.
Yeah.
And she like there's a like I was watching it with Becky at this point before she like this was like the 10 minutes that Becky happened to walk in and watch it with me before she realized she didn't want to anymore. And
understand.
So she was sitting there watching. She's like, "Is this lady like related to the aunt in Sleepaway Camp? Because she is crazy overhyping these fucking eggs." Yeah. Did you notice that?
Yeah, she's into it, man. There's so like the love story in this movie comes in like at the beginning of the second act or so, and I know it comes out of nowhere. The cop just goes into a diner, and you're just thinking like he's gonna have lunch or whatever. And then he's talking to this waitress, and he's like, "You can't leave work alone tonight. What time you off? I gotta come back and escort you." She's like, "I get off at 7:30." He's like, "All right, I'll be back."
Ooh,
and I'll escort
the chemistry.
you.
Ooh.
And you're like, "Who is this lady? Why does he care? Are they dating? Is this his daughter? Like what?" We have no context whatsoever. And then like he goes home and passes out until like 11:45, and then he wakes up because the mayor calls him. He goes to get this chick, and he's like, "Why didn't you wait with me? I told you to wait." And she's
that
like,
was when she was like, "I waited." Yeah,
11:45, man. I can't sleep
I waited
in a diner.
4 hours.
Yeah.
Why didn't you
4
wait for me to
hours.
walk you home? It's like, bitch, it's abandoned. It's fucking people. We closed and people went home. We standing around.
That shit cracked me up. She's like, "I waited till 11:45. It's like, damn.
So at that point in the movie,
and
as
then
I
he
recall,
locks her in a freezer.
Yes. So that's So then they get like chased by a being, and this is the point where I wrote the phrase, "How many the beings are there exactly?" on my notes, because it's fucking everywhere. And then so it chases them back into the restaurant, and I forget how this happened exactly, but they sort of like back the monster into the freezer and they sort of lock it up. At one point or another, the waitress woman, she grabs, I think it's her. It might have been Detective Slimeass. I can't remember. But one of them picks up a butcher's knife, and that butcher's knife is sitting on top of a light switch fixture. It's like behind the like metal pipes of a light. Why? Why is that there? Why is there a butcher's
You pick
knife
up all
there?
the wildest details.
Look, these are the moments I managed to stay awake. This movie is fucking Dramamine. This movie is fucking Benadryl. I'm sleeping the rest of this movie. But I'm watching this thing. I'm like, okay, she just picked up a knife. It's sitting behind like an electrical outlet. Why? Why? They
Safest
couldn't have
place,
just
man.
sat it on a table? There's
Safest
tables
place.
exist.
You want to put the sharpest objects directly next to energized
The
wires.
sharpest
what you wanna do.
metal objects. Metal. I'm sorry. Like, these are like little things, I know, but I just watch this like, what the fuck? Like, these are like, it's infuriating. This
Also,
movie's
the goop
infuriating.
just like escapes the freezer. How's it get out of the freezer?
No,
Yeah,
it
like
dies.
melts or something.
See, that's
yeah.
the thing is like,
It's just
are there multiple beings or no?
Did it?
I don't know. I don't really care.
I think it melted. They said because of the light. It's like, oh, it doesn't like the light, so it
It's a
melts.
pile of liquid.
So there's
so,
multiple
yeah.
liquid beings rolling around that can melt with sunlight or some shit.
Yeah.
That's right.
I find the
forgot.
characters
Yeah, because they trapped
way
it
more
there.
interesting than the monster.
Dude, you found the
honestly.
characters interesting?
I
Yeah,
did.
Who hurt
why?
you?
Yeah.
What?
I mean,
did.
Jesus
So-
Christ.
Well,
I thought it was the
so
extra
you being a little
teeth.
stupid?
Gotcha.
at this point, they think they caught the monster. They call the mayor. The mayor comes to the diner, and he like immediately hauls ass into the freezer. And he's like, "Oh, you caught it? Let me in there." It's melted. So like he gets a phone call from his wife, and she's bitching him out about how like he's going down to this like real shitty lowbrow diner, and how these people would just like tell him what to do, and he gets bossed around by him, and she doesn't like hanging out with these like low life individuals, and like their daughter's about to have this musical fucking performance at their house for a bunch of random
That
friends
shit
and
was
family. I guess.
weird.
What the fuck? Ruth Buzzy is like, and then she like he sees the monster. The mayor sees the monster in his garage, and then freaks out, obviously, and backs out and busts through his own garage. And
I
his
love
wife,
that.
Ruth Buzzy, comes out. I mean, that's all fine and good. She comes out and she gets attacked, but she gets attacked, and her way of screaming involves operatic singing. "Ah!" Instead of fucking screaming like a person, this person. Why?
It's this amazing scene. It's like, so we got the mayor sitting in his car in the garage, and he can hear his daughter singing very poorly from inside, and he just starts like slamming his flask, just trying to like deal with how much he
what
hates
is his daughter
life.
singing?
It's, I don't know, some opera bullshit. And then the monster pops up, and he's like, fuck it, and puts the car in reverse and backs up through his garage door. And then his wife comes outside to see what the commotion is about as the singing is terrible and gets louder and louder. And then she like screams because she's getting killed. And like,
Dude,
it's just like this wonderful scene. Probably my favorite scene in the movie.
holy shit.
I like
were
it.
you on shrooms? What is happening?
No, I was just drinking coffee.
Oh, that's the key. I didn't have my coffee.
Just had a
Really
Cup-
changes
cup-
the experience.
cup of Joe.
The
Why
cup
not?
of Joe. Dude,
Yeah.
my
Oh,
notes are nuts.
Bob.
I don't even know what some of these notes refer to, but some of them are dead on. Like, sing screaming is the new hotness. This is painfully dull. These cuts are extremely disorienting.
Yeah, I
Detective
can't believe you
Slimeass
guys
just
have like
imprisoned.
so much to talk about. Even
Detective
even
Slimeass.
Randy hating it, like I didn't like I was just like, man, this movie's dark as shit. I can't see
only-
anything.
If
And
we had
like
been in the same room while watching this, I would have been like just like I am now. But the only reason I'm able to conjure any of this is through some marinating and through some key notes that I made for myself to make sure that I could access that anger. So
Yeah.
here's some more anger. Detective Slimeass
okay.
imprisons his girlfriend, his waitress girlfriend, in a fucking freezer,
Yeah.
and she just gets out. She just ends up not
Instead
in
of
it
freezing
anymore,
to death,
and
which
at
is
the witch's
good.
house. Yes. And she could have
Yeah,
frozen to death.
what if
First of
that
all,
guy died
but then
trying to show down with the monster and his girlfriend is
Yeah.
just locked in a freezer?
dude, you locked her in a fucking freezer, and then the next scene, I think, or the scene after the next, she is just at the witch's house. She's
And
just
so-
there.
Before he
Is there a
locks
reason?
her, he locks her in a
It's like,
jail
yeah, it's too
cell.
dangerous for you.
He
out
doesn't-
there.
He doesn't lock her in a freezer. He locks her in a jail cell because they go
Oh, that was a jail cell.
to
You're
the
right.
police station
Actually,
to get
it's a
weapons.
freezer.
And
That's
this
right.
is this is like the beginning of the third act, and this is where we finally realize that they're a couple. We don't know until this point because like they're getting guns, and she's like, "More, I want to go with you." I really care about what happens to you. Which, if she hadn't said that, we wouldn't fucking know that she really cares.
I
what
mean,
happens.
I actually like you, Mort. Camera, did you get that?
And then they make out. And it's very awkward. And he's like, "You can't go. It's too dangerous." And
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
You know, women, they can't be trusted with firearms. They can't fend for themselves. We are scared to death of their sexuality. We got to get rid of all these jack-off parlors moving into town.
Aren't you being a little stupid?
Sexually
Aren't you being a little stupid? Aren't you being a little stupid?
I'm just saying, there's a lot going on in this movie that you guys are not giving it credit for, I think.
No, I think there's a lot in this movie that you are giving credit to that isn't there.
Okay, I agree to disagree. I don't know.
I will give credit to this movie for this. The
think-
detective looks a lot like Tim Curry in certain light.
I mean, I
fun.
thought that the whole massage parlor thing was really to just build up the character of like the woman. She's like filling the role kind of
She's
like
the teetotaler.
a cooter in the way that like when she dies, you're like, fuck yeah, kill her, monster.
She's like in the 80s, she's like the school marm version of a cooter, where she's like, she's so like uptight and so overtly like in people's business that you're comfortable seeing her get.
I don't think it has anything to do with the males being sexually repressed and then they can't do. I think it's just building her as a character to die.
I mean, I think that is absolutely a theme in this movie. I'm not even kidding. Like, I'm not making a joke. I think it is. There's this scene.
Well, let's finish the beats of the movie, and I want to hear this whole thing laid out. Like, I want to
let's
hear your
please
Charlie,
get down to the showdown.
Let's get. Yeah.
I can't believe this.
Walter Matthau's in this movie. Did we forget to mention? Like, because he suddenly shows up again, and is like, he's the mayor's scientist in waiting, who just like says whatever he needs to make sure everything goes well. And so he gets sent to this dump site to make sure everything's cool, and he sees one of the being monsters. Yeah. And then he's like, well, now I'm taking it very seriously. And Walter Matthau is giving maybe 4% of his charisma to this movie. And and that's kind of where we are when the showdown starts happening. So him and the detective Slime Ass, they get together, and they start like, what is their plan? I can't remember. Like they get together.
Their plan is they're sitting in the car and they're just waiting for the monster to show up. It shows up in the backseat of the car like it always seems to do somehow.
It's always in their trunk or their backseat.
And then they hit the gas and then bail out of the vehicle and then shoot the vehicle with a shotgun and it explodes and they think it works.
Shot, yes.
The monster's not dead, whatever. The monster. So it turns into like a cat and mouse scene for like the last 20 minutes, like a cat and mouse chase throughout this like factory of some sort, and
there's a cat. There was a cat in the scene.
There's a cat scare,
but
and then they decide they gotta save the cat.
Yes,
for some reason.
Yes, thank you.
For no reason.
There's a quote in this movie, and this is the way I wrote it. I wrote, quote, "Wait, we can't leave that cat in here." And then I continued in my own voice, "Why the fuck not? It was there to begin with." Why are they saving this cat? Your girlfriend's locked in a fucking jail cell while a radioactive man-eater is wandering the streets. You don't have bigger concerns than this fucking Abby?
So he tries he turns on some gas at one point to like kill it, and that doesn't work. And he tries to ride this like lift.
Yeah.
he
like holds onto a hook with one arm.
Yeah.
It just fails.
It works at first. I couldn't understand why all of a sudden it stopped working. He rides up. He goes up, and then he stopped, and he's just pressing the shit out of the button.
Fuck. Well, okay, that was 12. That was about 2.5 minutes that we can add to the runtime of this movie.
Oh,
I guess I'll drop now.
That shit like cracked me out. That specific. I was
this is
ridiculous.
He falls from the hook onto a pile of potato bags. I love that the potatoes are like just all throughout this movie.
I don't know what I wrote this about, but at some point there was a cardboard avalanche because I wrote that down.
I don't know what that's about.
That happened in this movie, though. I trust myself enough to think that happened.
Ultimately, he hacks it up with an axe. Ultimately, he kills it with an axe. That's how it ends. with an
Yes,
axe.
the
Yeah.
being,
And then
the being
he
is
cli-
killed with a fucking axe.
And he throws like bottles of sulfuric acid on it, and then for some reason, like,
Hell
so he
yeah.
kills the monster, and then he doesn't just like walk out of a door. He then somehow climbs up through the ceiling successfully and through like a skylight onto the roof, and then finally takes his hat off and throws it into the air like it's a fucking graduation.
Dude,
What is that about?
he's been watching a lot of Mary Tyler Moore. It's not his fault. Everything is fine.
What's
You're just
happening?
being a little bit.
Aren't you being a little stupid?
Then the radio personality comes back and says like another storm is rolling in, and the mayor.
We can expect to have one way Easter Sunday tomorrow.
The mayor assures everybody everything's very, very safe, and then we see like the monster's hand come up out of the ground again, and then we get the whole like, where are they now thing, where we see Virginia's never found Garson's body was donated to science by the mayor, so that's the scientist who the mayor hires to come
That's
test
Walter
water,
Matthau.
all that shit.
Okay.
Mayor's the first potato farmer that ever wound up in the White House. Laurie, the waitress, she now just lives in Akron for some reason. And
She
Marge
just lives in Akron.
Just lives in Akron. Marge is looking for her son still, and Mort just decided to not be a cop anymore and go be a stuntman in Hollywood. Why? Nobody knows.
Probably because that actor was a stuntman before he was given this role. That is my guess. And there's nothing that will prove it wrong because there's no information about this movie outside of the movie itself.
It's a good guess. Solid guess.
You know, it's big business around these parts.
Big potato. Big potato.
Potato, you know. What is this one?
I really ought to write you a ticket. We can fix that quicker. God makes poor folks.
Well, that was a good one. I really wish I can't.
I really ought to write you a ticket. We can fix that quicker. God makes poor folks.
We can fix that quicker than God makes poor.
Isn't that the most
that's
godly
deadly.
sentence ever spoken?
That
right
man
there?
hates God. I'll tell you
He's
that.
a believer. He's a believer.
He's a believer in Satan. That dude hates God. God
Tell
makes
you
poor
this-
people, so
This movie's saying a lot. It's saying a lot.
I wrote in my notes about that scene. Sheriff Von Racist isn't exactly subtle with the ladies.
No.
Because it was a woman who was letting off with a warning because she smiled at him, and that's all. That's the level of humor this movie's at. Is man like girl, man do favor for girl, and then the guy gets eaten.
Yep, he got murderized. So I mean, that's more or
There's
less
also
the movie. I think we hit the majority of the plot points.
There's a few other notes that I want to read out here. First of all,
yeah,
in this movie features a curtains open naked toenail polish sesh in a movie.
Oh yeah.
Where there's a monster pretty identical to the monster called the Being in this movie.
Except that looked like a big like roach or something, right? Wasn't it like a big bug?
I don't know, man. To me, they looked
kind of.
They looked pretty samey, and it was confusing for me. I was like, "Oh, this is."
I
the
did
movie
get
in the movie?
confused. Yeah.
Okay, so, but okay,
Because at the
okay.
same time, people are getting snatched out of their cars watching the movie, but then the girl in the movie was getting attacked, so it was very like disorienting.
She just had her curtains open and was nail polishing, titties out, tits out, yabos out, like
women do that, Randy.
Oh, people are all about like leaving their windows open while they nudely do unrelated tasks.
Yeah,
it's a standard operating procedure for people. Whatever.
Pretty standard.
I'm a prude. There's some graffiti that says Cisco is boss, spelled like the foodstuffs company, but it made me think of the Thong Song, so that earned a spot on the notes list. Yeah. Cisco is boss.
True.
Dumps like a truck.
Ooh, the dragon.
You know.
No one knows that song, Bob.
Satan must be stopped at every opportunity.
I'm not sending you any more sound clips, man.
Well, you better send better ones.
No more. You guys have anything else you want to touch on before we rate this thing?
No.
The dream sequence is way cool. Actually, you know what? There is some. Yeah, I'm good to review.
Okay. Yeah. Well, why don't you kick us off, Randy? How you feel about the Being?
Oh, how many ways can I say no? This movie's not good. Jim, I love you, buddy, but this is a bad movie, and it was extremely tough to watch. I attempted to watch this 3 times. The first time I was like, well, this isn't going to happen right now. I was told by somebody on our Slack channel that maybe weed would help me. So I gave it a second attempt, and I watched about half of it while using very legal in these parts, weed. And that did not help. In fact, it made it harder to follow, if that's possible. And so I was like, okay, well, I just got to buckle and watch this fucking thing. So I watched the whole goddamn thing the third time. And the only way I could keep myself awake through some of it was knowing that I had to take notes and forcing myself to do so. That's why I have notes like this is painfully dull and sing screaming is the new hotness. That's why those things exist. I don't like this movie very much. Like I can if it has some charm to you or whatever, great. I can see the bones of something interesting here, but there's just not anything beyond the bones, and even the bones are not very well made. So I don't know. I don't know, man. The ball cap and the fucking butcher's knife on the light switch and just little shit like that is all I could focus on because nothing else about this movie was attention grabbing for me. And I don't know, man. Honestly, the best part of this movie, the very best part of this movie was the Fleetwood Mac song. It's a good song. I wanna run with my alone. That's a good song.
So 5 stars?
So yeah, it's a 5-star movie, but not for me. It's a 1. I'm gonna give it a 1.25.
Wow.
Give it a 1.25. That 0.25 comes from the fact that some of these things got me so angry that I enjoyed talking about them. So it's not really to the movie's credit. I'm just being generous.
All right, $1.25 from Randy. Juice, what about you?
I did not think about this movie as much as either of you on either end of this. I pretty much saw this as a pretty standard forgotten 80s horror. I thought to myself, God, I wonder how many of these movies exist that are just lost almost to time. Because it just hit the beat. To me, it was dark and it was muddy and it was hard to see, but I was it was the 80s and despite that, one of the poor choices, it's if you're going to make a movie this dark and this hard to see, why the shit are you just throwing this terrible looking monster in my face then? At least try to pull an alien where it's in the shadows or something. It's for all the darkness and confusingness of this movie, the one thing they shouldn't have done, they did. And it's here's the monster. And it's it doesn't look good. I don't know. I thought it was pretty standard and forgettable. But like I said, people love the shit out of that style. I'm just not one of them. So I'm going to give this movie a 1 star plus a half star for the Yabos, which will give it a 1.5 star total.
Right on. So I think I know I enjoyed this movie a lot more than both of you guys. So I also am willing to recognize that I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting here. I'm reading a lot into this movie. And I
can't believe it, honestly.
A large reason why I like this movie is because of the shit that I'm projecting onto it. Before I get to that, though, just taking it as it is, I still think it has a lot of charm to it. I said it earlier, the monster is almost negligible in this movie, which when you watch a movie called The Being, you're hoping to a badass monster, right? That's kind of what you expect. The monster's not very badass, kind of base. When you do see it, you can't really see it very well. But the characters and the direction and the editing are just so goofy and hammy that I still get a lot of entertainment and enjoyment from it. There's a handful of decent kills. The dream sequence that's shot in black and white with the mayor's wife on a broomstick is insane, and the whole scene where they're at the drive-in and the stoner's I'm gonna tell him to fuck off.
Hey, fuck off.
and murdered. And these shitty kids singing about how they're bitching the witch, and then they throw their doo-doo on her front door or whatever they throw. And
that poor woman is the saddest human being that has ever been put on celluloid.
They've got this insane side plot where they're trying to rid the town of pornography, which is bizarre and out of place, but also very hilarious. Because the mayor's talking about you gotta kick Satan in his ass every time you get a chance or whatever he says, and then we've got these this other scene that happens later in the movie, where it's like just these 3 middle-aged white dudes in ball caps, and they decide to break into this vacant building that might one day become a massage parlor, that might also jerk you off, to burn it down. They decide that they're going to burn the thing down because it might maybe be a thing that they don't agree with one day. So they go in to burn it down, and this one dude finds a bunch of porno mags, and he's like just looking at the porno mags. He's like, this is fucking awesome. And it's like, well, why are you burning this building? Like, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, that's right. I was not interested enough in the film at that point to put that together.
Yeah.
But yeah, they break in to burn it down because it might potentially be smut in there, and then they
Yeah,
find
and
smut.
then they find
like, oh,
smut.
sweet.
Yeah, this is dope. And then his friends get killed by the monster, but
That's
he
kinda
thinks they just left him. And then he directly speaks out loud to God. And he's like, well, I guess we got saddled up with a couple of chickens tonight, didn't we, God? And it's just like, I think maybe on a subconscious level,
I say that
this
every
is
time we record this
actually-
podcast.
I think this is actually commenting on some things accidentally. But, like, it's not, like, nobody had some sort of grand scheme that they pulled off with this movie. I'm definitely doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's goofy. It's funny. There are a handful of decent kills. There's, like, some overt racism in this movie that you can read into for sure. That one
At least
cop
it's called out. I appreciated that. Like,
It is, yeah.
At first, I was like, "Oh my god, is this our protagonist? What the fuck?" But then we have the voiceover from Detective Slime Ass fucking PI, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Boy, Detective Dudley sure is a racist." I'm like, "Oh, okay, it's self-aware at least. That's good."
Yeah. That one blonde.
Out of 5.
I am not done. The blonde cop just like keeps arresting this poor Mexican dude who's just trying to feed himself, and he won't leave him the fuck alone.
He doesn't have a fishing license, so he just keeps stealing his trout.
But he does let the cute girl off the hook because she's cute, and I don't know, maybe one day he'll get to bang her, right? I don't
I
know.
really ought to
We
write
gotta
you a
get this
ticket.
butt out of
We
town.
can fix that quicker. God makes poor folks.
That's
I'm
exactly
helping.
right. He also
You basically
did-
just made all the audio clips here are just points you wanted to make.
the real enemies are foreigners, poor folks, pornography, women's sexuality, women having control of their lives, and just agency in general. I think there's a lot going on here.
Who are the good guys?
Who's a good guy, Bob?
Mort is
The
a
Bing?
pretty decent guy.
Capitalism?
Yeah. I mean, it comments on capitalism. Big potato. It
Big
comments
potato, baby.
on
There's another
religion.
point.
I mean, half this movie takes place on Easter Sunday, and I think it's for a reason.
Hey, it
I'm
is an
just saying.
Easter horror.
Potatoes?
That's kind of cool. We don't get a lot of Easter horror.
It is.
A lot of what?
It's
Easter horror?
Easter
This
horror.
is not Easter horror.
It's like Blood Rage. It's
Yeah,
like
it is.
it's
Easter
as much
is on
Easter. Yeah, it's as much Easter horror.
Dude, the
as Blood Rage
tagline
as
and the
Thanksgiving.
most famous quote from fucking Blood Rage, it has to do with cranberry sauce. What about this says Easter to you?
They have an Easter egg on. Anyways, I'm not
I guess.
done.
Yeah, I
I'm
guess
not
that's true.
done yet. I mean, I'm more or less done. I don't know. I think there's a
Wow,
lot.
story keeps changing.
There's a lot going on here. I could continue, but you guys obviously don't want to hear it.
You
So-
don't get arrested.
Bob, big horror over here.
Big horror.
The horrors of Big Potato.
This is
There's,
why you only
I don't know.
cost $2,000 for a feature, Bob, and I'm 10.
Yeah, whatever.
Jesus.
I enjoyed this movie. Suffice it to say, I enjoyed the hell out of it. Actually, I laughed out loud multiple times.
Wow.
I
Were you
had
watching
a
this
different,
movie alone?
Yeah, and
Huh.
completely sober.
Wow.
Yesterday morning, just put it
Wow.
on with some
Wow.
coffee. I enjoyed it, man.
You've
I
changed, man.
genuinely enjoyed this movie, and I honestly think it'd be one of those things where if it got like a 4K scan and put out on like by Arrow or Scream Factory, I think it would be a really, really cool obscure thing for one of those companies to put out. Maybe better suited for Vinegar Syndrome, actually. Probably so.
Oh God! As long as it's suited for your collection.
I like it. I'm gonna
That's
give
wild.
this a 4 out of 5.
What? No, you're not. Are you serious?
I am gonna give it a
You're
4 out of
fucking
5.
with me.
Not-
This movie, you got. Oh my god,
Bob, I thought
Oh
we
my
took
God.
this seriously, but I guess we don't.
Dude.
so.
I don't.
I do. I do.
Look, I'm all for not taking it seriously, but the two of you trolls need to chill the fuck out. This is not cool.
I'm all for not
really like
taking
this
it
movie.
seriously. I love that soundbite. I'm all for not taking this seriously.
I mean,
Look,
we've only done this for 253 shows.
There's
I'm
not
down
taking
for
it
not
seriously,
caring.
and then there's inflammatory, clearly false opinions.
This is not. I am being genuine. I enjoyed the show.
Bob,
I really
you don't-
did.
I don't know what to think about
You got an uphill battle to convince us that that's a genuine feeling that the person can have about this movie, having
4 out
seen
of
it
5.
almost 3 times now.
4 out of 5. Yeah, that's going to put our aggregate at a 2.25.
Oh, we are
very
I think
high.
it's fair.
That's
I think
very
it's
high.
So
yeah,
there you
so
go,
that-
Jim. You pleased one of us.
Yeah.
You did.
One of us
Look,
was pleased.
Jim was right though. Jim was like, I don't think everybody's gonna like it, but it'll be a fun thing to talk about, and he's not wrong about that.
Someone
Yeah.
had
Man,
a
I
lot
did
of
not-
fun talking about it.
Yeah,
I could have gone on, but
I
that's
know
enough.
you could have.
Let's jump into our Rotten Tomatoes segment and see what the critics and users think about The Being.
Certified fresh to death.
So, this segment is typically a segment in which I will offer these guys a chance to guess what percentage out of 100 the critics and users rated this film positively. So this is the Rotten Tomatoes score, critics and users. Unfortunately for us and The Being, there is no critic consensus for this movie. There's according to this anyway, according to Rotten Tomatoes, there are no critics who have reviewed this movie at all. So there's nothing for critics. We can
Well,
only
just
guess
add
the
Bob
audience
to
score.
it, and it'll be at 80%. There you go.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is going to be an
Sounds good.
80% film, and people
Sounds
will
good.
be very happy with that. So we're just going to go straight to the users. We fight for the users anyway, right around here. So so there are 115 audience ratings for this movie. Out of 100%, Rob, what do you think this movie got out of 100% from the users? I'm sorry.
I am sure it is low. I'm going to guess a 45.
45 from Bob. All right, Juice, what are you thinking on this?
45. I'm going to go even lower and say 35.
Wow. Well, you guys, you really polished a turd here, because this is a 20% movie to the rest of the audience. in the world.
Wow.
So this movie is much behated by the internet, or at least by the 115 people on here. Let's take a look at some of these reviews, huh? Here's somebody said,
Rob does not represent the people.
No, he does
That's
not.
fine.
A weak 80s monster flick with Martin Landau, of all people. That's very cutting review. Grungy, muddy-looking, and completely beholden to Alien for all its money moments. The Being is Z-grade schlock slinging at its most obvious. That's from DVDtalk.com. So, yeah.
Cool.
DVD
So people hate it.
talk. I'm sure
People
they're
hate
still
it, and
around.
by extension, you, Rob. How do you feel about that?
I don't give a shit.
Bob,
I
we
like it.
walked by. I was walking around waiting for my dinner reservation to start the other night, and there was a DVD shop, and I was like, oh, I'm going to pop in and maybe get Bob something. He likes physical media, and they were closed, as in they didn't exist.
Shut
anymore.
down?
Yep.
Did you then go to your dinner reservations, you bourgeois
Bummer.
bastard?
And then, yeah, I went to
Oh,
it's like,
And
let
then
me
I
pop
went
in
and ate
get Bob
clams.
fucking Patrick
And
Bateman
oysters.
over here.
dinner. He's
I
eating
have-
dinner. He's such a rich bourgeois.
How did
piece
you
of
get reservations
shit.
at Dorsia, you fuck?
Look at my new eggshell card.
We can only afford breakfast over here in the States.
Life is hard,
man,
man.
Try and deflect all you want, but if you're getting attention at Dorsia, man, you're doing something right with the financial world, buddy.
They won't even let you fish in the States without a license anymore.
Oh, it just became night in Oregon.
I
Yeah,
saw
dude.
that. That was weird.
That
Yeah.
was weird.
That happened immediately.
That's color correction for you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that is
There you go.
Roxy
That's
Intro
it.
Radio.
That's
20%.
20%.
All that mattered
seems
there
more
is
reasonable.
that I came out victorious. Let's move on.
Okay, yeah.
They
all
scored
right.
it less than any of us, even me. by the
We
way.
got no trivia this week because nobody knows shit about this movie apparently.
Nope. We are not going to stain your brain, right, Bob?
No, not this week, but we will next week, I assume. So let's go ahead and go cooter hunting. We got to talk cooter of the week.
Cooter of the week.
Cooter of the week. We talking cooters, so we talking
I don't
character
want to
type.
dissect this movie anymore.
I'm sure Bob has some strong opinions about who
Bob.
hits
Yeah,
3
who's
of the 5
misogynist
points.
motherfucker and cooter of the week, Rob? Who's
So
the
hang
piece of
on.
shit?
Who is either pathetic enough, sexually deviant enough, arrogant enough, manipulative enough, or has crazy enough attire? They got to hit 3, Bob. You are an expert on this film now. You have done a deep dive dissection. Who's the
You
cooter?
have added layers this movie never intended.
I honestly couldn't even tell you
true.
people's names, so Bob is really going to have to carry the weight of naming
There's
who
Detective
the
Sly
cooter is.
Mass.
Yeah,
There's Girlfriend
okay.
Waitress.
Yeah.
There's Walter
My-
Matthau, Ruth Buzzy.
My vote is the mayor's wife.
The mayor's
Ruth
wife.
Buzzy?
Mhm.
Yep.
And that's
Why?
the one who I said, remember, I said, oh, she's the one you want to die, right? Like you're excited when the monster kills her. And
Yeah,
we-
you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right, Justin.
And-
Everybody
well,
knows you're
no.
right.
I just like one of the interesting aspects of cooterdom is when they are not the villain, they're often like you cheer when they die, when they kill you. And
Sure.
that's a
Sure.
big trope of the 80s cooter as well that we kind of miss out these days.
Justin is correct. everyone.
Okay.
Now,
So she's
yeah, we
loathsome.
agree.
Give,
She's loathsome, but I don't know, like she's not sexually deviant.
Well, yeah, she's not really sexually deviant.
What are the
Let-
points
let-
she hits?
Let's run the other ones down. So I think she is incredibly self-important. That phone call
Okay.
that she gives
Absolutely.
to her husband when
Smug,
she's in
for
the
sure.
diner,
Smug,
and she's
arrogant.
like, all these people are below you, yada, yada. She's full of herself.
Boom.
I think she's manipulative in the fact that she's leading this coalition to like rid her town of pornography or just anything that she disagrees with, like this vacant shop that might literally be anything one day.
Yeah.
But she thinks she's afraid of it becoming something she might not agree with. So she's manipulating her town folk to
Number
agree with
2.
her to make sure it doesn't happen. So that's number 2. Her attire is like old lady wear.
That's
I
like
don't know. I guess
standard-ish.
it's appropriate. I guess
don't think
it's
that's
but
that crazy for the time and place.
yeah, pathetic. Is she pathetic? I guess that's debatable somewhat. I think that everything that she says makes her feel pathetic to me, but I don't know that I can really make a strong argument for that.
The way
so she's got too strong.
How
too
could
strong.
we associate her scream? That was something that was very weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think that, I mean, yeah, I don't know with that shit. I think that probably Officer Racist Von Asshole is probably
he's a
probably
good
the
one.
good go-to.
Because
I mean,
we would have been
obviously-
excited for him to die too.
Oh, absolutely. We were.
Yeah.
He did.
Well,
Not that we remember because it's
Run-
not a
I
good movie,
actually
but-
don't remember him dying. Sure.
Oh, he died. He died right
dies in
after
his car.
propositioning and letting a woman off scot-free because she smiled.
Oh,
at
that's
him
right.
once.
After the
Yeah.
ticket. That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah, and they find his badge later. But yeah, he's fucking with some Mexican dude and calling him every slur that he can think of. All of
Okay.
which are
So he's
very-
arrogant. That would be smug
So
arrogant.
he's arrogant. He's manipulative, or trying to be, at least, with the woman in the car, trying
When
to
he lets her
manipulate
off, yeah.
for his sexual reasons, which is a third one.
He's pathetic because whilst
pathetic.
he's doing that, he like kind of trips or whatever, like saying she like is laughing at his
Yep.
how incompetent he
Yeah,
is.
and he also gets
That's
fish
pretty
thrown at him and shit, and nobody really takes him like that. His biggest bust of every day is busting this guy fishing.
It's
So
true.
he's like, that's pathetic.
And even the other cop is like, "What the fuck is your problem?" Like,
And just
what,
leave this
like-
guy alone.
Yeah,
He's
leave
like,
him alone.
shut up, Jose, to the fucking
Yeah.
guy whose name is, he says his name is Miguel or something. He's like, well, just sit right there, Jose. He's a
Yeah,
racist piece
that's
of
pretty
shit.
pathetic. Yeah.
I think that hits enough of the mark for me.
That is Officer Dudley is the official cooter of this movie.
Yeah.
Sounds
I would
good.
say so.
I give it.
I'm down with that. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Another successful
Agreed.
cooter caught, boys.
Yep, we
Caught 'em.
collared another one, guys.
Put them in the books.
We did it. Let's go ahead and jump over to some horror news.
H news.
Extra. Read all about it.
Read all about it, Bob.
Here we go. We're doing it. So, Universal, they're making some weird movies. So they just announced that they're going to be doing a movie titled Monster Mash with original music for the film.
I'm sorry, what? Okay.
So we don't have like a whole lot of details regarding like what the hell this is going to
Randy
be.
is skeptical.
I don't know what I am. I'm trying to understand what this could be. I'm thinking through the possibilities.
Matt Stosky is going to direct the, quote, original musical film, which is written by Will Widger, who was a Grammy-nominated music video director. And they haven't really said much about what this is going to be. But Universal, like ever since their like Dark Universe died with Tom Cruise's The Mummy, because that movie was terrible.
Yeah.
They're just like doing a bunch of random things with these Universal Monster movie IPs. So like Paul Feig is directing this movie titled Dark Army that's supposed to be pulling from like Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein. It's going to have, I think, some sort of like comedic element to it. It's going to have like some of the classic monsters and also some other original monsters. And then this other guy, Dexter Fletcher, is going to be directing a movie called Renfield, all about, obviously, Renfield.
You're kidding.
Elizabeth Banks is going to star in and direct a movie called The Invisible Woman that's going to be coming out. And then this Monster Mash movie, obviously, we got The Invisible Man coming out this year as well. So they're just kind of doing a bunch of crazy shit with it. As far as I know, none of it's technically connected in a cinematic universe, but maybe it will be.
I hope not.
Yeah, it probably is. Probably is for the best, because geez, like that, that shit.
Like, we can just put a pin in every fucking person trying to pull a Marvel universe. That'd be fine with me.
You can't do it.
Just like, even if
don't.
you
Yeah, I hope
could, at
everyone
this
just
point,
kinda
the
gives
novelty's gone. Like, who
Yeah.
gives a fuck if you have like fucking Woody and Buzz hanging out with Sully and Mike? Who gives a shit? Like, nobody gives a shit.
Green jacket, gold jacket, who gives a shit? Says Randy.
I just don't care. I just don't. I can't care.
I don't know how you could.
Kylo Ren's hanging out with Captain Picard. Oh, who gives a fuck?
Now that's something I'd pay to
There's
see.
literally like every fucking year at the Super Bowl they have crossover commercials with fucking Mr. Clean hanging out with the Charmin Bears wiping their assholes. Who cares?
Dude, hashtag baby nut. Am I right, boys?
God.
I missed that. I was in the bathroom, but yeah.
It's like,
Apparently they had another Walmart commercial with fucking Bill and Ted's Bill Preston. Or no, it was no. Whichever. Fucking one of the Bill and Ted's. I can't. It's Ted. Ted shows up and his younger self is there or whatever, and that's all well and good because there's a movie coming out with that. But Jesus Christ, do we need to see Mr. Clean in every fucking commercial? Does Mr. Clean have to be at the funeral of a nut?
hashtag baby nut.
Do we have to be privy to this? Do we have to be treating mascots like human beings in some capacity? Fucking
Pour one
stop.
out for the nut.
Anyway, there's a whole like sea of rage there for me to tap into that I won't get to right now.
Yeah, we found out.
Yeah.
Next news story is Legendary is making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre reboot. It's going to be produced by Fede Alvarez, and it's going to be directed by Ryan and Andy Tohill, who they directed The Dig previously, which I have not seen. I don't know anything about that. This was written by Chris Thomas Devlin. It's apparently going to be very violent and very depraved. So that's about all we know about.
Seems about
that.
in keeping with the others.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm down for some Fede. Like, I'm down with Fede.
I'm down
Like-
if he directs, but he's not. So
He's not directing, but like I haven't seen. What is he? Has he produced anything exclusively before without directing? Like,
I think this is his first produced.
so yeah, I'll
thing.
give him I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. That's a good enough name for me. That's got enough good stock with me to be interested, especially with like Texas Chainsaw Massacre or something. Which to me, it's like even if you kind of fuck that up, it's tough to really fuck that up. People have done it. But
I
it's
don't know,
like,
man. I can't tell you any like. I mean, they released one like 3 years ago. I mean, it's just like I
But it's
wish
like-
they would start doing like different ones. Like somebody had mentioned, like Phantasm would be a great one that could
Yeah.
like use a modern remake. It's like, come
Yeah.
on, guys, like.
That's
There's
true.
so many like
That's true.
classics out there. Like I'm glad they're doing Candyman. Like I think that could use a modern like. It's just like
I guess because Fede was involved with Evil Dead and he did such a good job, in my
that's-
opinion, with
yeah,
that,
that's true,
that I
that's
kind
true.
of am curious to see what his involvement would bring to Texas
Yeah.
Chainsaw. But I also am like, I know that it's an uphill battle with any remake. And yeah, you're right. Like if they're gonna remake something obscure. But to me, like I would much rather him just be producing some shit that nobody's ever heard of before, because that's how fucking fans start
I agree.
instead of continue
agree.
bitching about everything.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in Texas Chainsaw movies like really at all anymore. Like 1 and 2 are great, and then that's it. Like the sequels just don't land, and I don't want to see it. I'm not.
It's been a pretty weak, like, just overall, like, franchise. Like, I don't even like the second one. And, like,
Yeah.
I just, like, and I guess at this point, too, like I said, they released one, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And I just, like, they don't even pique my, so unless somebody would have to come in and say, like, hey, you know, that new Texas Chainsaw Massacre is pretty damn good, then I'd be like, oh, shit, really? Other than that, it's just, like, nothing to me.
It's Fede's involvement that's got me interested. But yeah, I would like in general, yeah, put these people on something new, please. Give them money for something new.
Agree.
They clearly have the vision for it. You don't have to tap the same wells to get the, like money making results. We've seen so many fucking good movies that were original in this past decade. The fucking Bracket of Blood is full of them. Like how many fucking remakes are on the goddamn Bracket of Blood? Not that
Actually,
many.
no, yeah.
Apparently, if you're on Reddit, the Bracket of Blood is not full of them.
Yeah, but even the people that are complaining about what's left off, they're not complaining because we left off fucking Texas Chainsaw 3D. They're not complaining because we left off like fucking I don't know. Like,
no,
they're complaining
just
because we
fucking
left out like Black Coat's Daughter, which is an original script, like shit like that, which we didn't leave that off. But
it was
because
included.
they didn't care to check.
True. So that we got that to look forward to. The last bit of news I want to mention is it's apparently like Christopher Lee was often seen as like the most killed person on screen, which this is news to me. However,
I thought it was
Danny
Sean
Trejo,
Bean.
Sean Bean's pretty high up there.
Maybe so, but Danny Trejo, I guess, is like top Christopher Lee. Maybe Sean Bean's above Danny Trejo. I don't know. I'm just reading shit off the internet here.
None of those dudes can stay alive for shit.
But Trejo is currently being touted as the most killed actor in Hollywood.
Ah, okay.
So this is coming from the interwebs, and I guess Christopher Lee was killed on screen 60 times, and Trejo has just been clocked in at 65 times. Behind them, we got Lance Henriksen at 51, Vincent Price at 41, Dennis Hopper also at 41, Boris Karloff also at 41, John Hurt at 39, Bela Lugosi 36, Tom Sizemore 36, and Eric Roberts at 35.
Some people just born to die.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Trejo was in like that many movies. I knew he's in a lot, but like 65, man. He dies in. He's got to be in more than that. I
don't know this, but my assumption is for years he had a pretty low appearance fee or whatever to just show up in your thing.
Yeah,
and play a small bit role or whatever. Which totally. Like he started out as a stuntman and he like just got noticed one day in a movie and made a cottage industry out of being a badass on film that gets his ass blown to shit. Good for him. And he's apparently, by all accounts, from what I've read, a pretty fucking nice guy otherwise.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So, they have a few of his movies here that he has been killed in. The Hidden, Bulletproof, Heat, Con Air, The Replacement Killers, Reindeer Games, Triple X, Predators, Haunted High, The Book of Life, and Three-Headed Shark Attack, which is a movie, apparently.
See, yeah, and their budget went to Danny Trejo.
Yeah, I'm sure. But that's all I got for the news. We do have a few voicemails here this week. If you are listening and you would like to call in and leave us a voicemail, you can hit us up at 904-638-3231. First up, we got Matthew calling in from Jacksonville, Florida. Let's go ahead and hear what Matthew has to say.
Matthew?
Hey guys, this is Matt from Jacksonville. I was going to call in and answer a bunch of your questions, like rapid fire, because I only got 3 minutes, so I'm going to knock this out. You asked a few weeks ago what movie we were looking forward to most for 2020. I got 2 answers because I already saw one of them. 1917 came out like the first week, right after Christmas, and 1917 was amazing. I don't know, y'all should go see it. It's definitely not a horror movie, but there's horrific aspects to it. I read a book earlier this year called Wasteland, The Great War and the Origins of Modern Horror by W. Scott Poole, and it explained how horror changed after World War I because there were so many people used to seeing horrific things like piles of bodies and rivers full of corpses and cities burning down. And then like all the vets came home with arms missing and faces missing and shit. So like, people needed to see more horror, needed stuff described more horrific because they're already seeing this other shit every day. It was a pretty cool book. I would check it out if I was you. And then the other book the other movie I'm looking forward to is Dune. But, classic sci-fi novel, one of the greatest books ever written. It's coming out December 23rd. They finished filming it like half a year ago, and they're just working on the effects for almost a whole year. So I really cannot wait for that. The director for that directed Blade 2049, Arrival, and Sicario, and all those movies kick ass. So seeing all that in like a high sci-fi setting, like on Arrival of Lord of the Rings, is yeah, I'm trying not to get too hyped up, but it's not working. Also, I went and saw the movie Underwater recently with Kristen Stewart. It's basically Alien, but on the bottom of the ocean, and like it did what it wanted to do. It tried to go Lovecraftian at the end. I felt like it should have leaned more in that direction, but they chickened out. And then they're just like, yeah, there could be a kaiju type sequel, whatever. It was all right. It was a solid B. Like I'll probably go back and rewatch it in 10 years and be like, oh yeah, I remember this. They did fail at some stuff because there's a lot of angles where they're in the water and shit's like blurry, and it's supposed to be dark and scary, but it just looks like a.
And that's the end of part 1. Here's part 2.
So I know y'all are doing like horror sci-fi right now. So I was going to throw this at Juice. I know you're playing all the video games. A game you might want to check out is it's called Dead Space, and you're like on a planet, a mining planet, and then like evil rocks start messing with people's brains and turn them into creatures. It's pretty cool. They released an animated movie based on it that I watch periodically. It's just a really cool setting. Also, to your question 2 weeks ago, would I smash a bat creature? I totally would smash a bat creature. Like I didn't even have to think about it. And if that creature could turn into, like if it could shapeshift into anything I want, yes. That's stupid. Why would you, anything you want that's ridiculous? I'd have it turn into me and then I'd smash myself for shits and giggles because I deserve it. Anyway, y'all have a good time.
Boy, Matt really revealed a lot of his hand at the end there.
I want to point out that he said he would smash a bat creature first. And
He
then
would.
and it can transform
And-
anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Then
And the thing he wants it to look like is himself. I mean,
But
Jesus
first-
Christ,
oh,
that's
how-
some.
How do you deserve that?
I deserve to be
Because
smashed.
I
you know?
deserve it.
I deserve to be smashed. I'm a
I
smashable
deserve
guy.
to fuck myself.
I
didn't
deserve
have
to be
think
smashed
about
by
it.
a guy as good as me.
I didn't even have to think. Damn, Matt. Matt's a thirsty boy,
Matt,
isn't he?
that
Damn.
boy's thirsty for his own lemonade.
Damn, we're getting into
All
some
right.
shit.
Thanks, Matt.
Jeez.
Tell us more about your kinks later on. I don't know, a later
Yeah.
episode.
Shit's weird. I want to hear about it.
Yeah, I actually Dead Space is a big one. I would love to play it. I don't think maybe I could download it, but I didn't know about the animated film that represented it, or that
Yeah, that was news to me too.
spawned off of it. But yeah, Dead Space is one I would love to. I have actually just never played it before. It is like up there amongst like the classic horror games that I would love to play, but I just haven't had a chance to yet.
Yeah. If you are in the Jacksonville area, I do want to give a quick shout out to Matt's company. It's called Bold City Longsword. If you have any interest in learning how to legitimately fight with a longsword or a rapier or any sort of bladed object, look him up. The dude really knows his shit, and you won't regret it. Bold City Longsword. Check him out. Thanks for calling, Matt. Thanks for
Thank you,
getting really fucking weird. We got one more voicemail. We got to hear from old Jim G. Baby, the man that chose this movie himself. Let's see what he's got to say.
Let's hear what this man has to say for himself.
Yo, gang, what's up? It's G Baby. Just calling in, saying thanks for watching The Being. Hope it wasn't a struggle. Shout out to my boy Nick Dog Heidelberg for calling my bitch ass out and reinstilling the faith that this was a good pick and worthy of discussion. So I hope, I can't wait to hear the episode and see what you guys thought, particularly the drive-in scene, which is by far my favorite. I saw this when I was young. My cousin used to watch like Joe Bob Monster Vision, and she's like a huge like schlocky kind of horror. She was super into like all the Godzilla movies and stuff, and we bonded watching stuff like that when I was like 12, 13, and we saw this one, and it was a family favorite. So and I hadn't seen it in a long time, and it's pretty dog shit. It's pretty bad, but I guess when you're around a bunch of people and if spirits are involved, it can be a good time. I don't know if you'll get to it in the trivia. I just want to say real quick too, the main dude who plays Mortimer and Lutz, his real name is Bill Osco, and if you notice at the beginning, the opening credits he's listed as Rex Coltrane, and at the end credits he's listed as Johnny Commander. He didn't want his real name involved with this picture so bad that he had two pseudonyms, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Anyway, hope you guys like it. Hope it's a good cast. And until then, keep chilling. I'm gonna see if my daughter will send you off. Say, keep chilling. Ripper. No, all right, she's passed out. Later, guys.
That man doesn't have a daughter at all. That's the twist to this whole story.
We just got Shyamalan.
I suspect his name is not actually G Baby, but I don't know. I don't have the resources
I'll
to
tell you,
find out.
My
That's
my
not
joke
his
about
Christian name.
my joke about Christmas viewings with the family of this movie was not that far off, as it turns out, because Jim's
Family
hanging out.
favorite.
I mean, I could see hanging out with people and drinking and having a good time with this movie. It's just not the situation I was in. But all things considered, like I shat on this movie real hard tonight.
However,
but it was all in good fun.
G
And,
Baby
like,
picked
Jim
it
knows it.
and says it's dog shit. So I don't feel like that
Yes.
aligns with Bob's 4 stars in any way.
Yeah. Jim picked it because, and he's like, well, it's shitty, and he had a moment of like, oh, should I on the
he
Slack? He's like, I
almost
don't know, maybe
changed
I'll
it,
go with
yeah.
this other movie. And
Yeah.
I had already tried to watch it once, and I was like, yes. But then Heidelberg's like, no, you're gonna do this to them, and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this to them.
Yeah,
so,
thanks
guys.
Hydraberg. Thanks a lot.
I don't know. That may have helped me out too, because all of that happened before I tried to watch it, and he was like, maybe I'll change it, and he decided not to. And then my expectations were like bargain basement low expectations, and I watched this, and I don't know, I had a really fun time. Honestly,
look, this is not the worst movie we've ever seen, but it was definitely bad enough for some funny discussion. So like, yeah, Jim, like. We're not going to split hairs. The man paid for a movie, and he got what he paid for, and we're happy to have him along for the trip.
This is nowhere as bad as the Cannibal Confederates trauma movie that we watched.
Oh no!
Not that we're throwing down a gauntlet, but
no, we are not.
We are not doing that. Please do not misinterpret what we're saying.
We have reviewed worse. Is all I'm getting at. Yeah. Yes. So, thanks for the support, Jim. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for trying to get your daughter to keep chilling. That's fucking awesome. Even if she was passed out, that's awesome.
It makes me feel like fucking Radiolab or some shit. That's great.
Yeah. So that's all we got this week. We're coming at you next week with a brand new show. We're going to be talking about a new release, actually. It's called Come to Daddy, starring Elijah Wood.
Come to Daddy, man.
Ironically, shares its name with a lot of Pornhub results. It's interesting. Thing, Matt.
I've been trying to find a stream, and I just keep getting all this pornography.
I just keep getting a lot of pornography. I wonder how intentional that was. They're just like, all right, we live in a hypersexualized society with Pornhub and a lot of weird shit going on that. How do we capitalize on people's kinks? Yeah, we'll make a movie called Come to Daddy.
That's how you defeat piracy. They only will find porn when they're trying to find it.
That's actually true. Every movie from now on is going to be called like Taking It in the Butt Part 7.
Damn.
And that's going to win the Academy Awards next year.
Pirates of the Caribbean 9 is like Butt Pirates.
Butthole Pirates Part. They're all Part 9 apparently since the fucking South Park joke.
Starring Johnny Depp.
Oh, Johnny. That's a good Johnny Depp.
That was a good joke, Bob.
I like that.
Hey.
Wow,
wow.
Every now and then, Bob can show up.
5% gold, 95% horse shit.
Oh. Hey, thanks, fellas. Really appreciate
you got it, buddy.
Positivity. Really appreciate
we're gonna give you a treat when you do good.
You're turning over a new leaf here in 2020. Straight Chilling's all positive. So check out Come to Daddy. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, please rate, review, and subscribe to us on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at STR8_chilling. On Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast. You can send us an email through our website, straightchillingpodcast.com. If you want to join our Slack channel, talk about the movie of the week, TV shows, music, news, video games, whatever we want to talk about, let us know on one of those social media platforms. I'll send you a link so you can join the Slack channel. Check us out on YouTube. Check out Let's Get Physical Media, streaming everywhere you get your podcasts. Watch Justin play video games on Twitch. Check out our bonus episodes. Vote in the Bracket of Blood. It's the last week to vote in the Bracket of Blood. Make it count. Haunt the vote. You got to do it.
Until Bracket of Blood 2.0, this is your last chance to vote.
Yep.
I'm sorry. What did we say? Bracket of Blood 2.0?
Until we start covering all the decades.
That's only going to happen when we have enough patrons to hire another designer, because that shit's over.
We'll take 6 month break, and then 6 month bracket of the 90s, 6 month break, 6 month bracket of the 80s.
Why even the break? Let's just go right into it. You just go right ahead, Juice.
And we're
going to put it under the Let's Get Physical banner, okay?
128 films to 256. We're jacking it up.
We're jacking ourselves
jacking it up. Poor Randy. So make sure you get
I'm dead in 3 days because you just said that. Like, just trying to get shit together.
Jacking it up. So until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Potatoes?
Around here, that means big money.